Kenny Albert here on the Rich Eisen Show. Is that an accurate figure of the number of air miles you've logged in just the last 10 days, Kenny?
That sounds about accurate, Rich. It's been 3 cross-country flights, round trip to and from the West Coast for the first 3 games in Anaheim in the West Final. Of course, back east in New York and Tampa. So, dating back to the beginning of the playoffs, I'd have to sit down and calculate it, but it's been 31 games. Tomorrow's number 32, and you're right, racking up the frequent flyer miles, but happy to share with you, though.
And so where are you calling from right now? Where have we found you now, Kenny?
I am standing outside the Rangers practice facility in Westchester, New York. They just finished their last practice prior to Game 7. Was in the locker room listening to some of the players speak, so it is an off day, but up here at practice and looking forward to Game 7 tomorrow.
Yeah, and I know, look, what you do for a living and what anybody in our profession does for a living, it is a blessing for us to be able to talk sports, and actually, we would do it for free. So I say that as the caveat for the difficulty of what you are doing, Kenny, the energy that it requires, and then the travel schedule. The one that I want to ask you about just in specifics is that Tuesday night in Anaheim where you call a triple overtime game on NBC and then get in time for the dropping of the puck to Tampa for the Wednesday night Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Final between the Rangers and Tampa Bay. Walk me through that travel process, Kenny.
Well, you are right, Rich. We would probably do this for free. We're all very fortunate to be involved in this business, and it's so much fun. And I never really look at it as work, even though there is a lot of preparation and travel involved. It's just really such an unbelievable business to be involved in. But I'll take you back to last week. It actually started the night before. The Rangers and Lightning played Game 2 of their series on the Monday night at MSG. So worked that game at Madison Square Garden Monday night, go home, sleep for about 4 hours. Tuesday morning, I think it was Tuesday. I'm having a hard time keeping track of the days of the week at this point. But
that was a Monday into a Tuesday.
Right, Monday into a Tuesday. So sleep 4 hours at home. Took the 6 a.m. flight from Newark out to LAX that next morning, on Tuesday morning, on 4 hours sleep with a game the night before. Got down to Anaheim. Did take a nap probably for about 2 hours, had some lunch. And then that night was Game 3 of Chicago-Anaheim, which winds up going 3 overtimes. And I had the game in Tampa the next night, as you mentioned. And I've gotten to the point, my wife always kids that I've memorized the flight guide. I know every flight, to every city in my mind. I actually still subscribe to the book, even though I'll do some of it online. I have the actual monthly flight guide that comes in the mail. So I was scheduled on an 11:45 flight Tuesday night from LAX, and you can't get to Tampa direct overnight. You have to go through either Atlanta or Dallas or Miami. So I'm scheduled on the 11:45 flight out of LAX. The game started at 6 in Anaheim, so I knew that even with 1 overtime, I should be okay. With a second overtime, I'd probably be pushing it. With a third overtime, believe it or not, there is not only an 11:45 flight from L.A. to Miami, but there is also a 12:30 and a 1:05 a.m. There are 3 flights from L.A. to Miami within an hour and 20 minutes of each other. So once we went to the third overtime, fortunately, I'm able to switch to the 1:05 a.m. flight into Miami, connect to Tampa, landed about 11 a.m., so was there, I guess, 9 hours prior to the face-off. And I did the same thing this past weekend with the Ranger game at MSG on, I guess it was Sunday night, Game 5, 6 a.m. flight out to L.A. on Monday morning. And then I did make the 11:45. Even though we went to overtime, it ended quick. 45 seconds in, got down to Tampa, through Miami once again.
This is crazy. Kenny Albert joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So can you sleep on planes, Kenny? Can you get some sleep on planes?
A little bit.
Okay.
You're so wound up, Rich, following the game that you don't go to sleep right away. And once the plane takes off, I am able to sleep for a couple of hours. But I found that during this stretch in the playoffs, you kind of run on adrenaline. And there were so many nights with 3 or 4 or 5 hours sleep. It's gotten to the point where on the rare days, such as today, where I can actually sleep, you wake up early anyway. Your body's just not yet adjusted back. So it's just so much fun. And the same situation last year when the Rangers made it to the conference final, and I'm involved on the radio side with the Rangers, and I was doing the Western Conference final on NBC as well. So it's 2 years in a row. It's a good problem to have.
Are you a window or an aisle guy, Kenny?
I'm an aisle guy. Love
Really?
the aisle.
Really? So what? I mean, if it's 4 in the morning, you just call triple overtime. You've got to get to Tampa. You call triple overtime in Anaheim. You got to get to Tampa, and somebody who needs to go to the bathroom is trying to get across your legs. Kenny, is that really what's happening on this plane?
Yeah, that's right. I found on average it's only once per flight. So if they wake you up once, I don't mind that.
Okay.
Then it probably gets to be a little annoying. But I just like stretching the legs out in the aisle a little bit. So I'll take the aisle over the window anytime.
Have you downloaded a TV series? Have you watched an entire season of Breaking Bad throughout the Eastern Conference Finals, for instance, Kenny?
I wish I could say that I have. On so many of these flights, I have a game the night before, then you have the other series the next day, so you want to make sure you catch up on the reading and all the work that goes into the next series.
Oh, you're not working on these planes, Kenny. Really?
The iPad, Rich, is the greatest invention ever because instead of carrying around, mounds of papers and newspapers, it's all right there in the iPad. I had 2 trips to London in the past 6 months, one for football and one for basketball. So on those trips, I definitely watched 2 or 3 movies in each flight.
Okay.
Haven't caught up during this stretch.
What's your biggest travel pet peeve, Kenny? What is that?
That's a great question.
I only ask those.
The biggest travel pet peeve is probably the folks either online at the security, on the security line at the airport, or people getting onto the plane that, it seems like they've never been in an airport before. They just don't know what to do. They don't know the routine. Although if you were talking to my wife right now, Rich, she would tell you that my biggest pet peeve is making sure. I always love to be on the plane first. I don't
me
have
too.
to be number one.
No, Kenny. I would beat the pilot. I would beat the
top 10 just to get the bag up top and.
Oh yeah, I would beat the pilot on the plane if I could, Kenny. I would beat the pilot on the plane if I could.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. And my wife always jokes that when we travel together as a family, and I have 2 girls, 15 and 12. That they hate going to the airport with me because I'm so regimented. Once we get to the airport, I have to be the first one on. I leave 2.5 hours early for a flight, and she's the opposite. She does not care about getting on early. She knows that she'll get a space for her bag, and she'll kill me if she knew that I was telling this story. But
no, it's okay. She's not seeing you anyway, Kenny. She hasn't seen you in a month, from what I'm hearing.
Right, exactly. And she did not want to admit it to me last week, but she met me down in Tampa for Game 3 of the Rangers Lightning series. She flew down on her own and then flew back because I was coming from elsewhere, as you know. And she did not admit it until the next day, but she almost missed the flight. She was there early, but she went to the ladies' room. She went to buy a bottle of water, and she was actually paged in the airport because it was final boarding.
I don't know who that person is, Kenny. I honestly, I don't know how that happens. But listen, you have your own thing with your travel, and I'm the same way with you. Okay, I've got to be the first on the plane. Here's my pet peeve. I cannot stand the person who uses the back of my seat to get up out of theirs.
Absolutely.
The back of my seat is not there as a counterbalance so you can get up. That's what the armrests are for, Kenny.
No idea that when they do that, they are pulling your seat back. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's not an object that is alone unto itself. That's part of my seat. That drives me nuts.
That's certainly on my list. But people that you go to the security line and they act like they've never been in an airport before.
Kenny Albert joining me here on the program. I want to play this for you. This was your dad. We had your dad on the show. I asked him about your schedule, and this is a man who wrote a book called "I'd Love to, But I Have a Game." Okay, so here was your dad last week on the show.
I mean, I thought my schedule was crazy. At his stage. I said, Kenny, you're nuts. Really. I mean, because when I was going back and forth between basketball and hockey and traveling all over the place, it was a little different because with hockey, it's so easy to lose your voice. It's a different type of sport. And even with being on all the airplanes where you can pick up anything, he's very fortunate that, he's able to stay strong and stay right on it. And, he treats every game, like it's the most important game that he's, doing that year. So, I'm very proud of the kind of job that he has done.
There you go, Kenny. That's your dad.
Well, first of all, I agree that I'm very fortunate that I haven't gotten sick or lost my voice. But, it's funny. He did send me a couple of texts during this run, and I'll keep him up to date on my schedule. And he did tell me the same thing, that I'm nuts and crazy. But he forgets, I think. I learned from him as far as the schedule and the work ethic. Maybe he didn't have as much travel back in the day because a lot of the basketball and hockey games that he did when he was doing the Knicks and Rangers, it was mostly home games for a while, and then he started doing more road games on TV. But what he would do, though, as you remember, Rich, growing up in Staten Island, he would do the 6 and 11 o'clock news on Channel 4 in New York, WNBC, and in between would go to MSG to do a game. So, he's at Channel 4 all day, does the sports at 6:40, hustles down to the Garden, does the game. Between periods or at halftime, he's on the phone with his producer getting ready for the 11 o'clock newscast, and that's 5 days a week. So, and then on the weekends, he was off doing a football game or a boxing match or a basketball game somewhere else. So it's probably a little more travel for me this time of year than what he went through during a specific month or 6-week period of time. But he had some pretty crazy schedules back then as well.
Yeah, he did. Before I let you go, I have about a minute before a hard break here. Who plays for the Cup? What do you think? What do you think happens in these Game 7s, Kenny?
Wow. I mean, both have been great, and I hate to make predictions because, A, I'm usually wrong, and B, I have to go out there and call the games.
That's
but,
true.
Obviously I've had ties to the Rangers now for 2 decades, and I do their games on the radio, and for Dave Maloney and I, who have been partnered now for 10 years, the longer the Rangers go, the more games that we get, and it's so much fun, obviously, to work a Stanley Cup final as we did last year. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. They're undefeated at home in Game 7s in their history, and Henrik Lundqvist is the great equalizer. He's just unbelievable in these big games. And then out west, who knows? I had the opportunity to work 3 of those games out in Anaheim. It's been such a close series, and we've seen these surges. The Ducks in Game 5 scored 3 goals in the first period, and the Blackhawks come back to tie it down 2 in the closing minutes. And then last night, Anaheim comes back and nearly ties the game. So just so lucky to, as sports fans, as hockey fans, we get to watch 2 Game 7s in the NHL in the span of 24, 27 hours this weekend.
And before I let you go, are you going to do anything with the Anaheim-Chicago Game 7? You going on a plane? After?
No, actually, Doc Emmerich, Eddie Olczyk, and Pierre Maguire, who do an unbelievable job, they are working both Game 7s. So they'll be at MSG tomorrow night, and then they'll be on my travel schedule on Saturday morning. They'll probably be on that 6 a.m. flight out to L.A. So they'll do both Game 7s. I'll have the radio call of Rangers Tampa Bay tomorrow night.
And then you go home? Then you're going to go home
Believe
on
it or
Sunday?
not, Rich, I have a Fox baseball game.
No, you
on
do
Saturday.
not. You do not, Kenny.
I go from the New York Rangers on Friday night to the Texas Rangers on Saturday.
You do not do that, Kenny. Are you serious? That's incredible.
I'm serious. Texas Rangers and Boston Red Sox.
God
Saturday
bless
night.
your wife and kids, Kenny, and you're great at what you do too, man. So keep it up, okay?
Rich, I appreciate it, and hopefully we can do it again during the Stanley Cup final.
I'd love it. Done. That's Kenny Albert.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.